TIFU by faking a British accent at work for 2 years. Look, before you judge me, this started as a joke. A tiny little panic-induced mistake that somehow turned into a full-blown double life. It was my first day at a new job. New city, new company, didn't know a soul. I was sitting in the breakroom, trying not to sweat through my shirt, when this super friendly guy named Mike asked, "So, where you from?" I meant to say just moved here from the suburbs, but instead, God knows why, I blurted out, "Oh, I'm from London, originally." With a British accent. A British freaking accent. The silence that followed was eternal. Mike blinked, then said, "Oh, cool. I love the UK. That's awesome, man." At this point, I had two options: correct him and look like a total weirdo, or commit to the bit. Reader. I committed. I nodded solemnly, took a sip of my coffee, and said, "Yeah, been here a couple years now. Still get homesick for a proper cuppa, you know? Who even am I? Anyway. That was 2 years ago. And now I'm the British guy at the office. Want me to keep going? Because it only gets worse from here. So yeah, I figured I'd fake the accent for a day, 2 days, max, and then slowly phase it out, maybe blame it on some international school upbringing nonsense and let it fade. But then HR introduced me in our weekly team meeting as our new team member from the UK. And everyone clapped. Clapped. That was the moment I knew I was in deep. Because now I had co-workers coming up to me like, "Oh my God, I love London. What part are you from?" And I'm just sitting there, sweating bullets, trying to remember which part of Harry Potter takes place outside London. I panicked and said, "Brighton." No idea where Brighton is. Still don't. Pretty sure I thought it was a clothing brand at the time. But they loved it. I became British guy. Suddenly I was getting invited to pub nights, asked to pronounce words like aluminium and herb just to hear me say it different. I even got roped into giving a toast at an office birthday party like I was some kind of royal envoy. And the thing is, I got good at it. Like, I watched BBC shows in my spare time. Practiced in the mirror. I downloaded Duolingo just for the vibe. I turned into the Daniel Day-Lewis of absolute BS. I should have stopped. I could have stopped. But then one day, they asked me to do a short intro video for the company website. In full British accent. It went live. On the internet. And now, I'm internationally fake. Help. You'd think having my fake accent immortalized in a corporate welcome video would be rock bottom. But oh no. That was just the scenic overlook before the full nosedive. Things got worse when our company hired a new regional manager, a woman named Elise. Super smart, super polished, actually from London. The first time we met, she smiled and said, "Ah, someone from home. Whereabouts are you from?" I panicked and blurted out the only British-sounding place I could remember from a rom-com. Lewisham. She squinted. Lewisham? Really? I grew up near there. Can't quite place your accent though, it's a bit blended. I tried to play it cool. Oh yeah, bit of this, bit of that. Dad's from Liverpool, mum's from Essex. Moved around a lot. Boarding school and all. She nodded slowly, but I could tell she wasn't buying it. Over the next few weeks, she started asking really specific questions. Stuff like, "Did you ever go to the Five Bells growing up? What line did you take into the city? Ever go to the Notting Hill Carnival as a teen?" Every answer I gave felt like navigating a minefield in a blindfold. I was Googling on the spot. I actually made up a cousin named Theo who used to work on the Jubilee line. Then one day after a team meeting, she pulled me aside and said, "I know you're not from Lewisham." My stomach dropped so hard I swear I heard it echo. Before I could say anything, she smiled and hit me with the most unexpected sentence I've ever heard. "But I won't tell anyone if you do exactly what I say." I thought I was done for. But turns out, Elise wasn't mad. She just wanted entertainment. And that's when the real blackmail began. So yeah, turns out Elise didn't want to fire me, expose me, or report me to HR. She wanted a show. Her exact words were, "You've built a character. I respect the commitment. Now you work for me." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. Elise laid out the terms of our very one-sided agreement. Every Monday, I had to casually drop a random Britishism into conversation. She got to choose the word. If I failed to deliver it naturally, she'd accidentally mention the whole accent thing during the next all-staff Zoom. That week's word? Gobsmacked. I had to find a way to use gobsmacked in a meeting about Q3 marketing metrics. I said something like, "Honestly, I was gobsmacked by the drop in engagement, wasn't expecting that dip in July." And people nodded. Nodded. Like that was a totally normal word to hear in a corporate setting. Elise smirked across the table and gave me a slow thumbs up under the table. Psychopath. It became a weekly event. People started looking forward to my weird Britishisms. Someone even started a Slack thread called British Guyisms where they kept a running list. Knackered, having a cheeky Nando's, sorted it right proper, and my personal low point, dodgy bins. Meanwhile, Elise was thriving. She started giving me extra projects just to watch me squirm under pressure while still keeping the act up. I couldn't even slip for a second. If I accidentally dropped my real accent, boom, my whole office persona would implode. I was living in constant fear of accidentally saying y'all. I had built myself a charming little accent prison. And the warden had an MBA and a terrifying sense of humor. By month 3 of Elise's linguistic hostage situation, I had stopped living my real life. I was British at work, American at home, and emotionally dead inside. I had 2 different personas depending on which Starbucks I was walking into. I had British playlists on Spotify to get into character on my commute. I started saying Lou in real conversations and didn't even flinch. One day, my actual mom called me during lunch. I picked up the phone and answered with, "Hello, Mum." There was a pause. "Since when do you sound like a contestant on Bake Off?" Even she was confused. I had to fake bad signal and hang up. I was unraveling. But the real breaking point? Our company retreat. 2-day offsite, rented cabins, bonding activities, the whole nightmare. Elise, of course, made it her personal goal to escalate the chaos. The theme of the weekend? Bring your full, authentic self. Oh, the irony. During a fireside Q&A on night 1, someone asked me, "What do you miss most about the UK?" I panicked. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I said, "The crisp sandwiches." The what? You know, crisps. In a sandwich. It's a whole thing. People looked vaguely horrified but accepting. Elise, meanwhile, looked delighted. Then the CEO, the actual CEO, turned to me and said, "You should give a little talk at breakfast tomorrow. A cultural spotlight. Could be fun." Elise leaned over and whispered, "Better start writing, Brighton boy." I had 12 hours to invent an entire presentation on a country I have never been to. Or come clean and destroy my entire corporate life in one very awkward, very public bonfire. Guess what I chose? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat on the edge of my bunk bed in the rustic Team Synergy cabin, Googling British trivia like my career depended on it. Because it did. The next morning, I stood in front of 30 coworkers, CEO included, clutching a makeshift PowerPoint titled, "Britain, a Brief Cultural Stroll." Yes. Stroll. Not tour. Because it sounded more British. I opened with a joke about how Americans misuse tea time. Mild chuckles. Then I dove into an absolute fever dream of a presentation. A slide on the invention of Marmite. An anecdote I made up about my mom slipping on a wet Tesco floor. A graph titled Biscuit to Tea Ratio by Region. An audience participation segment where I made them rate accents from posh to peak Essex. It's somehow killed. Elise sat in the front row, drinking her coffee with the smug satisfaction of a villain watching their evil plan unfold flawlessly. People clapped. The CEO said it was charming and refreshingly personal. Someone in HR asked if I'd help plan the next DEI event as our resident international voice. And that's when I realized something terrifying. I had become too good at lying. This wasn't a bit anymore. It was a full-blown identity. And I was in deeper than ever. After the retreat, things got weirder. People started coming to me for advice on UK travel. One guy asked if I could translate a Cockney rhyme his Airbnb host used. I panicked and said, "Right, yeah, that means he wants you to lock the bin and walk the frog." He nodded like I'd just revealed a secret. I didn't even correct him. I'm living in a house of cards made entirely out of Earl Grey. And I can feel it trembling. I hit my breaking point during a Zoom call with a British client. Yeah. Let that sink in. We were pitching a partnership to a London-based agency, and naturally, the team looped me in like I was our company's diplomatic envoy to the Queen or something. Elise didn't even try to hide her glee. She literally texted me time to shine, Brighton Boyguard. The second the meeting started and I opened my mouth, I could feel it. They knew. The client lead raised an eyebrow, just slightly, and said, "Ah, whereabouts did you say you were from again?" I tried to deflect. "Bit of everywhere, really. Moved around a lot." He smiled. The kind of smile that says I'm onto you, you sweaty little imposter. I made it through the meeting without collapsing, but afterward? Total spiral. I locked myself in a conference room and just sat there, staring into the void, wondering how my life had become this. Then Elise walked in, shut the door, sat down across from me, and said, "So, what's the plan, Sherlock?" I told her I couldn't keep doing this. That it had gone way too far. That I couldn't even order at Starbucks without accidentally asking for a flat white in a transatlantic accent. And then she surprised me. She nodded. Good. Because I was wondering when you'd finally say that. This was hilarious. But yeah, it's time. I blinked. Wait, you're letting me off the hook? Oh no, she said. You have to fix it. I just won't stop you anymore. And then she stood, smiled, and added, "Good luck explaining this one, mate." So that's where I'm at. Standing at the edge of a 2-year lie. Trying to figure out how to tell my entire workplace that British guy was a full-time character I invented during a coffee-fueled panic. I've written the email 3 times and deleted it every time. How do you even start that? Hi everyone. Fun fact, I'm actually from Pittsburgh, a grimacing face. Tomorrow might be the day I finally tell them the truth. Or I might just change my name and move to actual Brighton. Could go either way. I did it. I came clean. Well, technically, Elise helped me come clean. Because before I could send the carefully worded email I'd been rewriting for a week, she made a bold announcement at our Monday morning meeting. Before we dive in, our very own British guy has something he'd like to share. I almost choked on my lukewarm office coffee. Every face turned toward me with this mix of curiosity and oh no, is he quitting? I stood up, took a breath, and said, "So, this is going to sound weird, but I'm not British. Like, at all. I'm actually from Ohio." Silence. Not angry silence. Not even shocked silence. Just processing silence. Then Mike, the guy who first asked where I was from 2 years ago, burst out laughing. "Bro. I knew it. I told you guys." I said he was faking, didn't I? Someone else shouted, "Wait, what about the crisp sandwiches?" And another chimed in, "You mean I started watching Love Island because of you?" It was chaos. But the weirdest part? No one was mad. No one reported me. No one yelled. People were dying laughing, high-fiving me, asking how long I practiced, and demanding a dramatic reading of past Slack messages in both accents for comparison. Even the CEO said, "Honestly, I've seen worse deception in quarterly forecasts. Well done. I thought it would be the end of my reputation. But now it's just a story people tell in onboarding. I'm Ohio guy now. Sometimes two-voice Tony, even though my name isn't Tony. Elise still texts me words like trousers and bloke just to mess with me. I still get the occasional Cheerio in the hallway. And yes, I did keep the hoodie with the Union Jack on it. Purely for irony. So yeah. TIFU by faking a British accent at work for 2 years. But somehow, it didn't destroy me. It just made me unforgettable.